UAP sightings, alien abductions, all within the Rocky Mountain region. This week, the Jackalopes will explore strange events within our region of the U.S.
This episode of Jackalopes Explore is brought to you by Sheridan Stationery Books and Gifts, located at 535 North Main Street in Sheridan. Stop by today to peruse books, stationery, gifts, sports cards, and more. Or visit us at SheridanStationeryBooks.com.
I'm Floyd Whiting.
I'm Aaron Linden.
I'm Steve Sisson.
And I'm Emmy Whiting.
And if you like what we do here, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Hit a like for us. It really helps us out. We're trying to get some more followers. You can share us as much as you like. And we're not really scientists, and we're here. We're not.
I was under the impression we were.
We're not even remotely scientists.
We're here to have a lot of fun talking about conspiracy theories and oddities happening in our world today. So one of our individuals who watches the show quite consistently said, hey, it's good to see some local people. We are in Sheridan, Wyoming, and he's up in Montana.
Right there.
And so we decided, you know what? We're going to go ahead and pick some of our favorite UAP sightings, UFO sightings, and alien abductions from around the Rocky Mountain region. And what really came as a surprise is there's a lot of them. For some reason, I think the aliens just go on vacation just as like everybody else. And
no, it's because this is where all the cows are.
That's quite possible as well.
Bringing up the little cows.
There you go. Well, we talked about on the previous show that we think that they're like cats to the aliens. Maybe they just go down and pick up a cow. There's probably an alien somewhere on some planet that has a house full of cows,
crazy cow
like the crazy cow lady. So, one that really always kind of fascinated me is the UAP sightings that happened in Cheyenne, home of F.E. Warren Air Force Base, back in 1965. This is an incident that is actually documented by the U.S. military department. So the Department of Defense actually had to address this. I don't know if we could say that they addressed it, but for those who don't know, all I'm going to say is Wyoming is the barrel of a very big gun. And so having UAPs fly anywhere within the vicinity of F.E. Warren Air Force Base is a major concern for the U.S. And remember, this is 1965. This is the Cold War. So everything in the air could be an enemy. And beginning at 1:30 a.m. on August 1st, 1965, various personnel at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming, including the base commander, telephoned the Air Force UFO Project Blue Book at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to actually report several UFO sightings at Warren's Minuteman missile sites. So when I said the barrel of a big gun, now you understand what I was talking about. The officer who filed and actually logged these telephone calls to Blue Book was a Lieutenant Anspaugh. A memorandum summarizing these telephone calls was actually published about, I think, maybe 8 years later, 1972, by Dr. Alan Hynek, the civilian scientific consultant to Project Blue Book. And he actually kind of wraps it all up in his book, The UFO Experience, a Scientific Inquiry. So what I have in front of me is a list of the times of sightings, and I'll try not to bore you with it, but it is a report from the U.S. government military department. So it's one of those things you kind of got to go down line by line. And so I'll try to make it very quick. 1:30 a.m., Captain Snelling of the U.S. Air Force Command near Cheyenne, Wyoming, actually called to say that 15 to 20 phone calls had actually been received at the local radio station about a large circular object emitting several colors but no sounds. And Grant's trying to rip his tape again.
Tape ripping.
This is a thing that's ongoing.
And Enemy just can't.
She can't hold it in, man.
Handle it.
She's never been able. She can't hold it.
He's so careful about it too.
I know. I just saw him grab the tape though.
He tries. He tries.
I tucked my lips trying to hold it. I couldn't. I had to laugh at it. I'm so sorry. I promise I'm listening.
No worry. All right.
I'm paying
So
attention.
back on track. 2 officers and 1 airman controller at the base actually reported that after being sighted directly over base operations, the objects had begun to rapidly move to the northeast. By 2:20 a.m. that same night, Colonel Johnson, the base commander of Francis E. Warren Air Force Base, called Dayton to say that the commanding officer of the Sioux Army Depot saw 5 objects at 1:45 and reported an alleged configuration of 2 UFOs previously reported over E-Site. 1:49 a.m., members of E-Flight reportedly saw what appeared to be the same formation that was actually seen by G-Flight. 2 security teams were actually dispatched from E-Flight to investigate. By 2:50 a.m., 9 more UFOs were sighted. Now remember, these are reports from your U.S. service members. These guys don't joke around about this. And they're Air Force members. They understand the difference between that's an airplane, that's a UFO. So these are very serious individuals who were reporting these things. We're up to 9 UFOs being sighted. And at 3:35 a.m., Colonel Williams, commanding officer of the Sioux Army Depot at Sidney, Nebraska, reported 5 UFOs going east. Colonel Johnson, at 4:05 a.m., made another phone call to Dayton to say that at 4 a.m., Q-Flight reported 9 UFOs in sight. 4 to the northwest, 3 to the northeast, and 2 over Cheyenne, the city itself.
Just wild.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like 1 or 2 were out there dinking around.
Right.
This was you could say this is a whole squadron of UFOs basically bombarded F.E. Warren Air Force Base, this entire area. The significance of F.E. Warren Air Force Base to the nuclear program at the time could not be understated. There's a lot of missiles that we had around here. So continuing, and directly over the city of Cheyenne, which if you're living in a big city in the U.S., Cheyenne is like a neighborhood. Okay, it's not overly big. It's I think the biggest city that we have here in Wyoming, but we are the least populated state, and I can only imagine how big Cheyenne was back in 1965. 4:40 a.m., Captain Howell, Air Force Command Post, called Dayton and the Defense Intelligence Agency to report that a Strategic Air Command team at Site Hotel 2 at 3 a.m. reported a white oval UFO directly overhead. Later, Strategic Air Command Post passed the following. F.E. Warren Air Force Base reports Site Bravo 4, 3:17 a.m. A UFO 90 miles east of Cheyenne at a high rate of speed and descending. Oval and white with white lines on its sides and flashing red light at the center, moving east, reported to have landed 10 miles east of the site. 3:20 a.m. 7 UFOs are reported east of that site. 3:25, just 5 minutes later, E-Site reported 6 UFOs stacked vertically. 3:27, 2 minutes later, G1 reports 1 ascending at the exact same time. E2 reported 2 additional had joined the 7 for a total of 9. G1 reports a UFO descending even further, going east at 3:28 a.m. We're almost done. Hang on with me. 3:32, the same site has a UFO climbing and leveling off. 3:40, G-Site reported 1 UFO at 70 degrees azimuth, and at 1:20, 3 now came from the east. They stacked vertically, passed through the other 2, with all 5 heading west. Major event.
That's insane.
That's an entire night of heavy UFO activity around one of the United States' most active missile sites at the time. So you think about who these individuals are, and now remember, these are different sites, okay? Golf, Echo, Foxtrot. They're scattered throughout the state between here and Nebraska. And all of them are reporting not just UFOs, but UFOs going into formation, coming out of formation, moving around, moving as a team. Okay, now there's one. Now there's one hovering over here. Now one is landed. What is going on? I mean, what could they have wanted? What could they have been researching?
They always love nuclear stuff, though.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, that's when you see these things happen a lot of times is over nuclear power plants, over, nuclear test sites, over nuclear facilities. And they're just, I think that's kind of what triggered them. I think we talked about that before. When we started dropping, atom bombs and stuff, it was like, oh, hang on. These guys have something that they shouldn't have. Let's go check it out and see what it is.
Take away the knife from the child.
That's exactly it. Right. And I mean, other ufologists have come forward who seem to get information from God knows where. I think it's a lot of speculation, but don't come after me for it. It's my personal opinion. But I've heard other ufologists come forward and basically say, well, when we started setting off these nuclear weapons, what it did was sent EMPs out of the atmosphere into space and started to actually disrupt their operations around Earth, and that's what got their attention. In my opinion, let me speculate for everybody. I think, they were here the entire time. They've always been with us. Bob Lazar, even, when he told his story about, I think it's the 8 or 9 UFOs that the U.S. government has that he saw, a couple of them were even discovered at archaeological sites. Mm-hmm. Like, could you imagine you're some university of wherever archaeologist, you're out there with a couple students, you open up a tomb, and it's not a king buried away, it's not a queen entombed forever, it's a goddamn UFO. What do you even do or say? No one's been in here for X amount of thousands of years. You shut the site down. No one talks about it. I really do feel that the U.S. government would have done that quite quickly because these secrets cannot be leaked out, okay? Religions all over the world would go ape over this. Mm-hmm. Basically, especially at the time, we go back 1800s and 60s or the 1960s, you still have, prominent religions are pretty much kind of controlling the world. And so you can't actually just come out and say, well, UFOs are real, aliens are real, they're all here. I think actually, in my opinion, we're drifting away from that. But before I get off on too much of a tangent, there was one more thing that I wanted to bring up that happened here in Wyoming. And it's one that doesn't get enough publicity, from my opinion. And it's not because he's a local boy. It's because I actually believe this man's story, however fantastical it is. And it's the case of Carl Higdon. This is an individual who was deer hunting, and he was an oil field worker. And October 25th of 1974, at 41 years old, he went hunting for a weekend in the Medicine Bow National Forest over in Carbon County. This is a very large national forest and one that we're quite proud of here in Wyoming. But here's the deal. It is large. It spans a massive area, and it's not overly populated, especially back in the 70s. Not a lot of people are out there messing around. So this is a place that is extremely remote. And Carl actually did say he didn't know it very well. It was kind of his first venture into that area. So Higdon had visited the forest by car, but the road was kind of bad, so he decided to go ahead, pull over, and he'll go hunting on foot. He walked over a small forested hill, and on the other side, he came across a small herd of deer, and if I remember correctly, it was 4 or 5, and there was one buck among them. Quite common. So he did what any hunter was going to do. I'm going to get that buck. And so he drew down on her and took his shot. The bullet hit something, but not the deer. So Higdon, kind of perplexed, walked over there to figure out what the heck was going on and picked it up. Now, Higdon has this bullet to this day, and it has actually been examined by forensic scientists. People have looked at this thing. It is a smashed bullet that has hit something harder than a rock. There was no rock on it. Harder than wood, obviously. There was no wood on it. But he had it in his pocket when he was later discovered, and his story is quite fascinating. When he turned around after hearing someone in the bush, he's shot at this deer. The bullet hit something that you can't see and just fell to the ground. Like, first off, you would think that it would ricochet or fly off or something, but this didn't. It hit, it flowered, and it fell.
Right.
So it absorbed all of its energy and then just dropped.
Yeah. So he could walk up to right where it smashed, and he just picked it up off the ground. And he's like, what the hell? You know, and the deer are right there in front of him.
Taunting him.
That's right. Yeah.
Miss me.
So then he hears this, something in the brush behind him. So he spins around, and okay, so
this is my favorite part.
This
is
the
story,
part.
By the way, I really like this.
Yeah,
So excited. Okay.
So when he turned around, he saw what he thought was a human, because it was a bipedal individual who stepped out. The creature, the head was not human. So it had no ears. The eyes were small, deep inset, and the mouth was just an open slit from which he could see 3 fairly large teeth. It had 2 short antennae coming out of the top of the head, and the hair, he described, the only way he could really describe it was the hair looks like straw. So it's rigid. I mean, it's there, but it's like, imagine, if you've never seen straw before, imagine like yellow tubes, very thin yellow tubes that are very rigid. It had no neck at all. The head just seemed to be on the shoulders. And the creature wore something very similar to a diver's suit. Now, remember, this is a man in the mid-1970s trying to describe something to you that is pretty outrageous. So he said it had 2 seat belts across its chest, what looked like seat belts, and a metal belt that went around its waist that had what appeared to be a yellow sunburst in the center. It didn't have hands. Matter of fact, one arm didn't even have a wrist. There was just nothing there. The other arm had no wrist, but instead had a chisel-like, object sticking out of it. So he was stunned.
At which point, I would have hoped that I had my brown pants on.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, right? It's crazy, man. So this thing just steps out of the forest, and he turns around, and so he's in a bit of a shock, right? And so he stood there for a little bit when all of a sudden, as this thing comes towards him, it literally says, "How are you?"
No.
And
I'm less fine than I was 2 seconds ago.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. For some reason, he didn't feel like he had to panic. So he's still standing there, still stunned. And he just replied, "Okay." And then it said, "Are you hungry?"
Come here. I got a treat.
Yeah. That's what you do, right?
It's that
Now-
alien trick where they're like, I have food and puppies.
I got candy in the van.
Oh my gosh. But if someone said they have food, it depends on
That does change
how
the situation.
hungry I am.
Yeah.
Emmy might end up in the van. Yeah. Are those French fries? Mashed potatoes. All right, I'll see you guys in a little while. I'm going to go for a ride.
If they had mashed potatoes,
With
probably
Floyd,
yes.
it would be marshmallows with,
Oh no,
Baker's
it'd be
chocolate.
donuts.
Yeah.
Donuts. Blueberry donuts,
Yeah.
my friend. That's right. So now this individual's standing in front of him, and it says, "Are you hungry?" He said before even he could answer, this thing seemed to know. He is. So
Stomach was growling too loud.
there was no hand-to-hand action.
Well, there was
Hand
no
to
hands.
chisel?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hand
he
to
didn't
chisel.
have hands.
Right,
so
right.
Of course there wasn't.
But Higdon said that It's almost as if through telekinesis, this object comes out of his pouch or something. It's just suddenly there and floats over to Higdon. And he doesn't remember how, but he opened the object and there's all these pills inside, to which this being says, eat one. It'll last all day. And so Higdon's like, okay. And so he just did. Again.
Okay, I'm not taking strange pills, though, unless they're in the mashed potatoes.
Yeah, I would do it from humans, let alone aliens.
Yeah.
Now, hang on.
Blue pill, red pill kind of situation, maybe? Yeah.
I mean, one thing, I really want to give Carl the benefit of the doubt here. You're out in the middle of the forest. Out in the middle of nowhere. You're alone. You just shot at something that was point blank range. You should have nailed that.
Mm-hmm.
The bullet just falls. And then you've got this thing. It's obviously not human, or it's a very injured human.
Yeah. So maybe at that point you're just I'm in for the ride.
I'm in for. You're like, what is going?
Or survival kicks in. Yeah.
You're just like, shit, man. I don't know what. Okay, I'll take this funky pill, right? You don't know what's going on. So I want to say that, like, he's not just yay pills. You know, it's like he's.
It was the 70s though. So.
Yeah, well, you never know. Yeah, exactly. But just. You know, a lot of people have come forward and basically said that Carl's not the kind of guy who just comes up with this shit.
Mm. Yeah.
He was an oil field worker. He was a hunter. We all know those people here in Wyoming.
Absolutely.
Right? And they're not given to flights of fancy. And I've seen him give an interview, and he's actually an extremely quiet, reserved individual. So I don't think this guy's like, I want to get famous and go crazy, like everybody said later on. But the story doesn't stop there. Carl took the pill, and I don't even know if he knows why. He just did. And sure enough, hunger was gone. And then the being who would later tell Carl his name was Also One. So first off, I want you to think, Also One. One. Why does he have to be one? Granted, it could be a last name, but keep that in mind as we go forward.
Obi-Wan.
Or it could be like Junior.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm one. According to their society, there could be a, beta version of the other one.
Also OG.
Yeah, the also OG. That's right. So it started to approach him, and Carl took that package of pills and kind of tucked them away in his pocket. He was going to keep these things. And it said, you want to go for a ride. And before Carl could say anything, he was inside a clear cube. Now, where did this clear cube come from? It's what the bullet hit that fell. You couldn't see it if you were standing directly in front of it. But kind of like a heat wave, if you offset it just a little bit, like glass.
Get like that prism effect.
He said all of a sudden it stood right out. If it was directly in front of you, no big deal. But if you turned it just slightly, all of a sudden you could see it. And he said he was really confused how he could fit inside that object, but he could with Also. And up they went, just boom, gone. And he said the last thing he really remembers is seeing his car. They got high enough where he's like, hey, there's my car. And then after that, they were gone. He was wrapped in a ribbon or something like a ribbon. He wakes up on a bigger ship. He walks out. There's the deer, the 5 deer I think 4 or 5 deer that he had taken a shot at. But he said they weren't moving. They were like suspended. They couldn't move. So he walks past them where he sees another being that looked exactly like Also standing there. But it wasn't Also One. So I've always thought maybe that was Also Two, Also Three. Also. That's right.
I'm here for you.
Yeah. I really, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. They travel. I've got it marked down here. They take him. What was it? I can't find it in my notes. Oh, excuse me. Okay. 163,000 light years from Earth to Osso's home planet. During the trip, they're scanning Carl behind this thing. He doesn't understand why. They're just like, hey, stand here. This will help you. And he said it was a lot like an X-ray. You just stood there. They stood on the other side of the screen. As they approached Osso's planet, he said he remembers a tower, like a huge tower with lights that were so bright that as they got close to the tower, Carl couldn't look at it anymore. He had to turn away. But then Osso just suddenly switched on him. There was a crowd. He remembers a crowd of people, but he doesn't know who they were or why they were there. But then Osso turned to him and said, you are not what we were looking for. So I'm taking you home. The next thing Carl remembers, he's in his car 5 miles from where he parked it at the bottom of a ravine where there are no tracks and there are no roads. He gets on a CB and he just starts calling for help. He said he was completely disoriented. He had no idea what the hell was going on. And I don't mean like, oh, I remember this. No, he didn't really remember what had happened. He just woke up in his car and he's like, where the hell am I?
Almost kind of like when you wake up from surgery and you're just
Yeah, I was thinking
You're out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not quite sure
Yeah.
where you are, what day it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you don't even remember what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So he gets on a CB and he calls some help and they've got to try and find him because they're like, how the hell did you get the car down here? And that was one thing that like the people who came to get him said. There was no trail to follow. Because for those of us who grew up in the country, when you pull off road, you can see the 2 tire tracks and you can follow where that individual went. And a lot of times it's pretty dang apparent. But there was nothing. They said there was just him in the car. Like someone had just laid it down there.
Just a little boop.
He was so disoriented when they got him back, he didn't recognize his wife. Couldn't tell who this woman was, who was there to essentially say, he's mine. It took him a while, and then slowly he was like, okay, oh, yeah, you're my wife. All right, sure. He didn't know what happened, and for a long time, nobody did. Until he went under hypnosis. And then he started talking about this event, and everybody's like, that's insane. When they dropped him off, he remembered he wanted those pills. He wanted to keep the pills, but also one was like, I'm going to need those back. And also told him, I want to take your rifle too, but they won't let me. So also wanted to take his rifle away, but whoever they were forbade it from taking Carl's rifle. And so he had nothing in his pocket but the bullet. Now, medical examination of Carl later would show all scarring from tuberculosis that he had been suffering from was gone. Gone. You have tuberculosis scarring one day, you don't the next. He had kidney stones that he was suffering from one day, he didn't the next. His doctor cannot explain that. Where did they go? He's a goddamn medical miracle.
Get that medical treatment.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yes.
So here's the deal.
It's free on their planet.
Even if people, detractors, want to come forward and say, Carl, it's all BS. It's all totally wrong. Okay, cool. Explain to me and Carl's doctor how he was cured of tuberculosis, where his scars went, and how his kidney stones disappeared so abruptly, without any surgery, without any treatment. It's just done. For years until this day, Carl sticks to his story. This is what happened to me. He hasn't changed it. He hasn't flippy-flopped. He lives a very modest life out in Wyoming. To this day, he's getting pretty old now. But his wife has written a book about his experiences. And if you guys want to show us love, learn more about it, I'm sure you can find it on Amazon or wherever you want to shop for books at. So, yeah, that is probably hands down my favorite Wyoming, Rocky Mountain region UFO story is the experience of Carl.
I'm trying to recall this. There was something about why he wasn't what they were looking for, though.
A vasectomy.
It was the vasectomy. Yes,
thinks,
that's it.
He theorizes. Okay, it's his theory. He doesn't know why, because Asa was just like, you're not what we're looking for. He theorizes that maybe it was because he had an early vasectomy.
Right.
And, a lot of people have gone missing in Wyoming while hunting. And we're not talking like, oh, they got lost. We're talking like these people vanish, guys. They vanish without a trace.
So you could think that maybe they kept looking for the one that they wanted to find, and then when they found him, they kept him.
They have a program where they're looking, because an individual who I love, he does the Missing 411 series. He recently did one on UFOs. I suggest that everybody watch it because it's absolutely fascinating. The man is a former detective, and he's very thorough, and he has made some pretty interesting correlations between every single one of these abduction, stories. These people that just simply vanish all share certain characteristics, and so Carl actually shared those characteristics, except for one factor: he had a vasectomy. So is something going on where they're like, this is either a breeding program or we experiment on your guys' DNA or whatever. And I know, right? Like everyone out there is like, oh yeah, aliens, they experiment on us, I'm sure, right? Like, because it just kind of comes with the story.
It's time for your probing.
But if you really think about it, if you were an alien species and you discovered this planet full of these hominids, you'd be like, wow, this one's for some reason more intelligent than the other. Why? What is it about them that brain grew big and they use that instead of brute force when every other one didn't? And now look at them. Now they're conquered the globe. They're in charge, we think. But
some of us are.
Some of us
aren't.
So that's my favorite Rocky Mountain region UFO story.
You've touched on that one before with me, but we've never actually gone into detail about it.
Yeah.
And it is wild.
It's a wild experience.
Yeah.
It's a wild experience. I mean, just the idea of also one. I mean, I believe it was his wife, drew also one. And he's like, yeah, that's. And I mean, when you look at it, it looks pretty ridiculous. You're like, what the hell? But at the same time, if somebody wearing a spacesuit walked up to a man who was hunting in 1812, how would they describe him? Right?
Yeah. Yep.
I wonder if I can look up that picture. I'm curious.
I'm sure you could. It's absolutely fascinating.
But that's why it's my favorite part of the story is the description, because it's not like the Nordic, the gray. It's like
totally odd. Yeah.
Totally like antennas, really? Like
straw for hair.
Yeah, and a chisel for a hand. You're like, okay, what is that? But who's to say?
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally plausible, I guess.
And here's the deal. Obviously, it probably isn't a chisel that also one had, but it was more than likely a tool that he used for whatever.
A glove, and it looked like a chisel. Who knows?
Who really knows? And you got to keep in mind, Carl was probably in shock for the majority of this. I mean, and they may have tried to suppress his memory. But then he underwent this hypnosis, and slowly things have come back to him over the years. And that's got to be a very traumatic event. And it's not like Carl has run around. You don't hear about this story.
No.
He's not on television all the time. He's not out there, trying to get attention for this.
Yeah, you're not trying to get a movie made from it or
right.
anything
He's
like
not
that.
trying to get a fire in the sky. You know what I mean? Which, no offense against
Is that the drawing?
That's the drawing.
Oh man, mark the time.
It's also the book, I think.
So it's a fascinating story and an odd thing that has occurred. Yeah. But
It's like a grade schooler's drawing of an alien, kind of.
right.
But
But
not
it
really.
works.
I mean,
You get it.
Pass it over here.
If you had no idea what you were looking at, you would describe the things that you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm out hunting and I see that,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I shouldn't have eaten that mushroom I found. I was hungry, but man,
I'm gonna pass on the mushrooms.
That was a mistake.
Yeah,
Wow.
at that point, taking a pill, there's no big deal. Just go for it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. You're in this far.
Mashed
Just keep
potatoes,
going.
you say?
Mashed potatoes.
That's
All right,
crazy.
so I'm going to shift on down to Emmy. Emmy, what did you find?
So it's probably, I wouldn't say it's my favorite because I wouldn't know all the stories, you know, but it was recent. So just a timely story here. So let me pull it up after looking at the Osso picture.
Good old Osso.
So it was from an article in March 13th of 2024. It was the weekend before that.
Wow. Very recent.
Yes. In
Very
Rock
recent.
Springs, Wyoming, which Aaron will hop
Well, I'll
in.
elaborate later.
Yes,
Yeah.
hop in whenever you want.
I lived in Rock Springs for a number of years.
I'm
It's
sorry.
a wild place, man. It is a wild place.
So Floyd will hop in on that, and Aaron will hop in on the sighting. So city attorney and longtime UFO investigator Richard Beckwith had spotted a interesting thing in the sky, an unidentified flying object, if you will.
Or a UAP.
Right.
So I actually watched the footage of it, and it was very interesting because it was almost like, you know how we always talk about like they're pill shaped.
Like
know?
a Tic Tac.
Yeah, so it looked like that, but it was like a warm light in the night sky. So it was like a warm tone light, pill shaped in the night sky. And it whizzes by, but then it stops and kind of just gyrates back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And just does that for a little bit, and then a white light flashes above it as it's doing that.
We should
And
try something
then-
here because that, I think, is that video.
Ooh.
Let's.
Oh, yeah.
We've never.
Let's take a peek.
We've set this up, but we've never actually used it before, so I don't know if it'll actually work or not.
So if the studio
Trial
bursts
and
into
error.
flames,
Trial and error.
So
Yeah.
this is Emmy, this is the video he captured.
Yeah, this is part of it. This is after it stopped, I'm thinking.
yes, yep, that's it.
Okay. Wow.
And this goes
That
on
is
for-
odd movement, man.
And I think the white light is toward the end of this. It
Yeah.
goes on for about 40 seconds.
Because it's there for so long. Like, it actually gave me a chance to
Well,
open my
Look
phone
at
on
that.
it.
I
thing.
wondered from this video, because it is so far away, is it oscillating or is it that big and the light's moving across whatever
right,
that object
right. You're
is?
not seeing the object.
Correct.
You're just
Right.
seeing an oscillating
There's the
light.
white light.
There's the white.
Yep.
And it moves like kind of synchronized with the yellow part of it.
That is
Yeah, and then it's
incredible.
just
And
gone.
then goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so that was very interesting to me because it's close to home. So I just chose this story because it was timely, interesting, and, local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really like, there's nothing in the sky that could do that except like, let's say it was a helicopter. Okay. Let's be critics. So it's a chopper. And first off, choppers make noise pretty
right.
much no matter how high you get them. It's just friction of the air and the way that a helicopter actually works. You're not going to have a stealth mode. It's just not.
Right. Unless you're Blue Thunder.
Yeah, Airwolf. But so something that hovers, and like Aaron said, what if the object was a lot bigger and we're actually just watching a light
Dash across.
Yeah.
dash across it,
Yeah.
like this is a reading or this is something like that. But it's almost as if it's like a boom, right?
Yeah,
like
it
not
almost
oscillating back and forth
It almost
smoothly.
bounces. It like bounces on the left side.
Yeah.
and then bounces back.
Yeah.
And then that other light just kind of pops on. I mean, I thought it was going to
It's
bail
almost
after
like
that.
a camera flash or something. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Just boop, and
They're
then
like,
it's
we've got the
done.
perfect angle. Take the picture.
Yeah.
So this is Rock Springs.
It's tourist season.
Well,
What
the
can
funny
I
thing
say?
about that is, so Rock Springs and Green River are pretty close.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
within
about 20
what,
minutes away. Yeah.
Yeah, if even, right?
If even.
The crazy thing about that is Green River, 20 minutes away, is home of the only intergalactic spaceport on the planet.
Yes, that's right.
This is
Right?
one of the
Yeah.
weirdest
I brought
things.
this up before in a different episode, but so in 1994, the Green River City Council renamed the 48U airstrip to Spaceport due to the Shoemaker-Levy 9 comet going to crash into Jupiter. And they thought, okay, if there's alien life there and they need to escape and come to another close planet, we'll make them an airstrip.
Come on
We'll
down the
rename
Green
this thing.
River.
Yeah, come on down. And oddly enough, the FAA was like, yeah, good idea.
That's an amazing plan.
And it's been this intergalactic spaceport for the last 30 years.
That's amazing.
So I'm curious to see what it looks like because I'm like, does it kind of look like an airport?
I have
Okay.
pictures.
Yes, good.
So I thought that was so bizarre, though, that they're like, well, if the aliens need to escape, we've got this airstrip that goes unused. We'll make it into a intergalactic spaceport. Like the city council came up with this, and I sit on the city council here. We're probably not coming up with that. And I'd like to know if they
Oh,
stayed
come
on city
on.
council after that, honestly.
You got to get on that. You
I
really got to
should.
get on that.
I'll get an
It's only a
out at
matter of
the
time.
Sheridan Airport here.
Yes.
Plant that seed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I found a lot of interesting stuff. So Rocky Mountain region, for people that don't know, it covers like 7 states and
It's
into
quite a base,
Canada.
yeah.
It's like 3,000 miles long. And there's a UFO UAP tracking site called Enigma. And in Colorado alone, so over the course of the entire Rocky Mountain region, I mean, we're talking tens and tens of thousands of sightings. It's a highly active area, I guess you would call it. Colorado's had 5,773, Colorado Springs 485, Littleton, Fort Collins, Boulder, Pueblo, blah, blah, blah. But then they go through and categorize the shapes of them. So you've got like the tic-tac shape, light ball, which is just, kind of like the spheres that we're used to seeing. But then they have sphere. So it's a sphere that isn't lit. It's more of a metallic looking object.
Okay.
It isn't a light ball. It's just a sphere. Circle, triangle, and then formation, which is what you were talking about over F.E. Warren, where they were moving more as a squadron, essentially. And then, of course, in Utah, we've got the Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about before, and tons of UFO, UAP sightings. The weird thing about there, and Steve could maybe speak to this, is it's almost like every time something's about ready to kick off, they get this weird spike at 1.6 gigahertz.
Right.
And nothing else transmits at 1.6 gigahertz, right?
I mean, it's not common. I mean, there's probably some cell phone stuff or something that's in that range, but
I mean, like a huge
you would,
spike.
yeah,
you
I mean, that'd be
wouldn't
like
see.
milliwatts. You wouldn't see anything like that,
Right.
spiking anywhere.
So that's kind of, interestingly, across, all the way up and down, there's sightings. But Colorado, for whatever reason, and Utah seem to be two of the real hot spots for this stuff. But I will tell you, I mean, this is, 15 years ago or so. We used to go camping in the mountains basically from Memorial Day to Labor Day every weekend. I mean, 14, 15 weekends out of the summer, we'd be on the mountain. And kids go to bed, everybody's gone to bed. I'm out by the campfire, and I had one of those little, Super 8 camcorders, the little tapes.
Like 8mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had a night vision mode on it, that green
Yeah.
pixelated.
Yeah.
And I would
those
just
were great cameras.
take that thing. I go out and it had the little flip out screen on it, so you could point at the sky and kind of look at it and whatever. And every once in a while, you'd be like satellite, comet, whatever. But there was one time that I was looking at this thing, and you see this one thing come in, and it just stops. And all of a sudden, 3 things go off of it, and 2 go that way, and 1 goes back the other way. And I was like, was that a comet breaking up, or did I just see something?
And
I don't know what it
when
was.
the
but-
interest sparked.
Right.
Yeah.
But no. And then I
Way
found
before that.
an amazing documentary by Richard Dreyfuss called Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
yeah.
from the Devil's Tower.
Yes.
So go check that out. Which is funny because at Devil's Tower, they play that movie every night at the campground.
Yes.
Do they really?
Yeah, with Devil's Tower in the background.
That's fantastic.
It's fantastic. But so the Rocky Mountain region has a ton of sightings. And I don't know if it's because it's so remote that they can kind of go more unseen around these areas. But, Colorado Springs is not remote.
Yeah.
It's very popular.
And they're not going unseen because we've got all the sightings.
Right. Exactly.
Well, so I do know that when I was a little kid, they don't really do it very much anymore. But when I was a little kid, there used to be sonic booms all the time. Yep. I grew up in a place called Star Valley, and it's picturesque, man. It at some points, this valley's like upwards of 15, 20 miles across. At other points in the Narrows, it's, a couple feet. So it is a massive valley. And we have an Air Force base in Utah. And that valley is extremely advantageous for the pilots to have because it's a good training ground. Because when they drop to a certain elevation, they fall off of radar because of the surrounding Rocky Mountains.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they used to use that as a practice area to fly blind, essentially. So go up there, fly through the valley, and learn how to fly without any radar help. And so they were constantly, when I was a little kid, there were jets constantly going through the valley, and they hit that sonic boom because they hit as fast as they can get through there. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where you no longer hear them anymore because I think they made it illegal to do that. But when I was a little kid, man, it was constant. And so we do have a lot of Air Force bases. We've got a lot of Army forts around the Rocky Mountain region.
And that's a really good point, is maybe that's the draw.
Maybe it is.
Because Minuteman missiles, Air Force bases, a lot of military installations.
Yeah.
Some of our most secret because of the security of those mountains.
Well, and a lot of national parks. Mm-hmm. And we could get into national parks in some other episode and why they may be national parks because of the things that they hide. But that's a great point. It's very valid.
Just a lot of operations and training going on. Even Wyoming itself, a lot of people don't realize, massive training ground for the Middle East.
Oh, yeah.
Because
very similar.
We're not just this picturesque, beautiful Yellowstone. We have that, but we also have an environment, an ecosystem called High Mountain Desert. And High Mountain Desert is pretty much all of Afghanistan, all of Iraq. It's the same type of ecosystem. We even have very similar insects. What people call, a camel spider is actually a solipod, and we have them here. In certain regions of Wyoming, we have what people would call a camel spider, only ours don't get as big. They look more like humongous, brightly colored ants. And I had no idea what the hell I was looking at the first time I saw it. I was terrified. I was like, mutant ant, man. But they're not at all.
Next episode. Mutant ants.
Yeah, there's been video games made about those.
We have a lot of operations around here that could either attract certain things, or those certain things that people are seeing could be test flights or just military operations taking place.
Let's not debunk the UFOs, man.
I'm not saying I'm not saying that there's not UFO activity. Okay, what I am saying is that we do run operations throughout the Rocky Mountain region. Those mountains serve multiple purposes, as I said before, having to do with radar. We got to train our pilots to be able to get through this type of terrain or drop to this level of the deck. All kinds of things going on around here. A lot of people just think, oh, it's the mountains. But
So, Steve, I have a question for you. Would you chase a UFO?
Would I chase it? Like if I saw one, would I go up to it? No, I don't think so.
Okay, so if there is ever a UFO around here, Me and you are going to be doing this podcast alone.
That's right, because those guys are going to be up inside the ship.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Petting the cows.
They'll be walking funny when they come back. Got the probing.
That's the whole reason they go.
Yeah.
I'm telling you this right now. If there's a probing, I want the T-shirt.
Come home. Why are you crying, Aaron? I love the shirt, though. Me and Proby are holding hands. Made a new friend.
No, I would probably like try to observe it and like record it, but no, I would not approach it. Definitely
See,
not.
and I think I would just go inside.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
I don't need that trauma for the rest of my life.
I'd be one of those that would be like, staring at it while it's burning my, brain out, probably. Just curiosity would get the better of me.
I got dogs at home. I got dogs to feed. I can't.
can't be doing this UFO nonsense.
I can't leave with these people.
Yeah.
It's just
Let Floyd do that.
irresponsible.
I would though, and I know Aaron would too. Like,
Oh, man.
if also won,
Now, also one's a whole different deal because that guy's a little creepy looking.
He is a little creepy looking.
He's not like one of the Nordics where you're like, oh yeah, cool, or Gray where you're like, oh yeah, interesting. Oso's
There's been
his own thing.
advancements in their technology, so they can probably appear differently
Yeah,
now.
maybe they have better
Oh, that
hair
could
care
be.
products.
Yeah.
It's not sticking out like straw anymore. They've got
Yeah,
kinda
they
like
found
groomed.
conditioner.
That'd be funny. They could show up, look like someone from 1980s Wall Street. It's all slick back. Replace the chisel with a cell phone.
Yep. Get some big shoulder pads.
I'm definitely not going if they look like that. I'm definitely not.
Who wants to make lots and lots of money?
who wants to take pills.
1980s aliens, man. Those guys are fun. It's I would investigate. And the thing of it is if we look at Carl's story, we could be walking past these types of things all the time out in the middle of the forest. And if we had scientists, I mean, like a lot of people don't know, but in the novelized version of E.T., E.T.'s a botanist.
Right.
E.T.'s a scientist. That's why him and his friends were here, and that's why he knows everything about those flowers and the plants. E.T. is a 900-year-old scientist who was here to study Earth. And you would think that if you're going to make this, and as far as we can tell, this monumentous effort, using all this energy to get to a foreign planet, you'd want to study it. You'd be taking scientists along. You'd be taking these curious individuals. It's not just about kidnappings, and it's not about war, and, we're going to dissect all of you. Think about how advanced these societies are.
Even if there's a little dissection, I don't want any part of it.
Well,
But it is about the probing.
I'm just saying, you don't reach that level without some sort of enlightenment.
Right.
You just don't. If you're a violent species, you're going to wipe yourself out. I would think long before that.
Well, and a good point is you go out and you talk to hunters, or I go out for hikes and gone out hunting and stuff, and be like, come back with some cool story of like, oh, I saw this many moose, or I saw a mountain lion. There's guys that are like, I've been out there for years. I've never seen a mountain lion.
Right. Yeah.
Right, but they've seen you. So
Yes.
how many times are you walking by something that you're just clearly not paying attention to?
Yep.
And, especially if you have to have the right angle to visibly see this thing. Yeah, how many potential UFOs have you maybe walked by?
Yeah.
And if we look at the testimony that was given during the congressional hearings of the objects, and I don't want to misspeak, but these objects during the testimony, one of the gentlemen during the congressional hearings talked about clear cubes
Yeah.
that contained black spherical
sphere.
objects in the center of them, and that these things are stationary. They're not out there buzzing around. They're not out there doing formations. They're stationary. And they're there so often that the pilots don't even address them anymore. Obviously, they're harmless. we don't know what they are. And when you're in the military at that level, you want to keep your career. If someone looks at you and goes, don't ask any questions, go do what you're told to do. You're only here to do test runs, so go do your goddamn test run and leave it at that, man.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Too easy.
Yep.
And guess what? I would. Yeah, they're there. No, I don't talk about them, but neither does anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And obviously the government doesn't even know about it. No one's addressing it. So what the hell good would it do anyway? It would put me in the loony bin and I'd lose my job.
Right.
I ain't saying shit.
Maybe in that order.
Maybe in that order.
Yeah. Steve, what did you have aside from the awesome video?
I came across the video because I was just looking for recent stuff, and that was a couple months ago. My first thought when I saw that video was some sort of construction vehicle emergency. They have those light bars, and I'm thinking that maybe something like that. But this went on for 30, 40 minutes, and this video doesn't show the entry or exit of it. But if it did come in quickly and then stop, then that's clearly not a pickup with a light bar on top.
Yeah.
And I also haven't come across any light bars that have that exact pattern. They'll do the back and forth thing. But like we were talking about, this seems to kind of go quicker to the left, then bounce, and then slow on the other side. And then what's the white thing that shows up and moves in addition, right alongside it? I don't have an explanation for it. I mean, a light bar was the first thing I was thinking of, but if it's in the sky and it's stationary like that, it's not.
It was a work truck UFO.
Construction.
A tow truck for the other UFO that was broke down.
Yeah, the Vogons are building their bypass.
That's right. Yeah.
And as far as the hunting stories and stuff, I mean, you got to take them at their word, because what else can you do? I mean, you can't say, well, you're just lying. Mm-hmm. I've got no reason to say that. So, I mean, it's all interesting stuff, but
it's kind of like ghosts, It's hard to believe until you actually see one. And everyone here, and the reason why I bring that up is because everyone knows I don't believe in ghosts. But to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, I jumped on and started watching reels of
Which
individuals who
are old TikToks. Anyway.
Yeah, that's boomer TikTok.
Right, it's boomer TikTok.
right.
Hurtful. So I'm watching these, but they're like people at home, who are experiencing something, and then they whip out their phone, because that's my thing, where I'm like, where's all the video? All this crazy shit is just moving by itself. Why is someone not whipping out their phone? We live in an age, more pictures are being taken now than any time on earth. And then I saw something the other day that said, yeah, but none of them are getting put in frames. They're all turning to digital ash.
Right.
They're all just useless. But more videos and photos are being taken than any other time in history. Where's my evidence? Where's my ghosts walking around? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. People could say that of UFOs, but if you go looking, you will find it.
And there's more now than ever before, I think, of UFOs and stuff.
So I decided I'll go looking. Mm-hmm. Let's see what I could find. And by the end of me watching a few of these, and only a few, I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty damn creepy, man. That's pretty damn creepy. There's an individual who, in my favorite one, he's downstairs watching this chair rock back and forth by itself.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
And he's yelling upstairs to his wife. She kind of comes out real quick, looks down, and just bolts. She's done.
It was Emmy.
Yeah, right? Nope, not today.
I know, and that would be us, too. That'd be so us.
Yeah, I'd be like, look at this.
He'd be like, check this out. I'd be like, nope.
She wouldn't even hang out. So she doesn't. She takes off, and this guy, keeps recording it. And he's like, man, this is crazy, And then he's like, whoa, and he, turns to his television. And he goes, you could see it. And in the reflection of the TV, there's someone in the chair.
Oh, nice.
And so he goes,
I just got chicken skin.
Yeah, he turns back to the chair,
Little goose
back
flesh.
to the TV, and then all of a sudden it stands up, and he goes, nope, and he hits it, and it ends. And that was the most convincing evidence I've ever seen of anything like that. Because
the skeptic becomes the believer.
Well, not a believer. I'll say that's crazy, man. I do not know what I just saw, but I did see, this wasn't super imposed stuff. And obviously, this was just some dude at his house who's like, he's like, oh, the chair again. Come out here and look. You know, he's almost kind of poking fun at his wife, like I would.
Thing, yeah.
I'd be like, oh. And I think at one point he's even like, oh, he's pretty busy tonight because it's really, really going. But then you get this reaction off screen where he's like, oh, whoa. And he spins around and looks at that reflection at the TV. And that's where I was like, wow, that's...
See, that's a brown pants.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I'm going to start investing in more brown pants.
Yes. Like I have 3 pairs. I'm going to need to start wearing them more.
But I had to sit there after watching that video. And I thought, okay, so what if that happened to me? What if that was me? And I was standing there and I saw that reflection in the television. What would I do? Would I run? Would I bolt? Obviously, whatever this thing is, it's in my home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where are you going?
Where are you going?
Yeah, you're not leaving.
I want to believe, like I'd stand there and be like, who the hell are you?
I would go sit.
Why
down
are
in the
you
chair.
here?
Yeah.
You go sit
I'm
on his
making
lap and rock with
Yeah,
him?
so go sit on the chair.
I'm making my stand. This is my house. I have,
You know what
Well,
you do.
maybe it's their house because
Right.
maybe you're in their space.
Clearly, the best option, shoot it.
I mean, this is Wyoming after all.
That's a Wyoming answer.
Well, it
right
was like
there.
the ghost episode that we did where they're like,
Yeah.
well, the guy's in white, shoot him.
Don't worry, we've got our 38s on us. Yeah.
See, my reaction to that kind of thing would just be to pretend to ignore it.
Yes,
Just
I think
act like it's
that's actually probably seriously what I
Yeah,
would do.
because-
Pretend I didn't see it.
Really?
I feel if you give energy to it, it'll give energy back to you. And I think if I don't give energy, if I don't give a reaction, it's going to be like, well, damn.
What
Fine.
I guess I'll go look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, go bother
Or,
somebody else.
you
This is
know,
not
we
the droid
just-
we're looking for.
We just exist in different spaces at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can share the chair.
Yes, we
Yeah.
can share the chair.
Share
I'm
the
never sitting
chair.
in that chair again, but I'm going to do it. Like, I'm going to make it look like it's not on purpose. Be like, oh, I just have no interest in sitting in that chair for
Yeah, I think I'll
some
just
random
stand
reason.
and watch the TV
Yes,
instead.
yes. Because that chair ain't getting satin. Nope.
I don't know. It's just, that was an extremely convincing video.
And then Floyd would piss it off.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, you would.
I mean,
I'm sure
okay,
you-
my
yeah.
thing, it's not like I'm intentionally going in there like Dan Aykroyd ready to start a fist fight with this thing.
Yeah. Tip the chair over and stuff.
Right. I'm talking like, who are you? If you can move that chair, obviously you have some sort of, you can react with the physical world. So I'm going to dump some flour on the floor. Spell your name. Dude, interact.
And the guy's like, look, I'm going to dump flour on his floor.
And then he just runs away.
I'm
He's
not
like,
saying
okay,
that I
next house.
wouldn't be creeped out. Holy crap. Just watching that video, I was creeped out. I got goosebumps. It's, oh no, but then
But you do have to send it to me later.
But then I stand firm, man. What the hell? No,
See-
you're in my home.
But so that gets back to, you see the UFO. Do you go towards it or do you run away?
Right.
And like in that ghost video, when I filmed the ghost knocking, I was like
Trying to talk to it.
walking over there, like, do it again.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if you can do that, pick up a goddamn hammer and
Show
help
me
build
something.
some set.
Exactly.
Like,
Get to work, man.
yeah, do something. So if a UFO shows up and they're like sucking cows up, I'd be like, I'm going to get on this cow.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't see me.
That's an expensive cow, man.
I'm going with them because I want to see what's up.
I will stand back and record you doing it.
And I will stay in the house.
And then
Here in the studio.
Steve and Emery going to come back here and just put the jackass chime just in front of everything. Yeah, right. Bear, bear, bear. Floyd and Aaron running up. Here we are. There they go.
Yep. He came back and had a tattoo on his butt.
Yep.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, there's the initial fear. There's the initial shock just because it's odd. But then, yeah, man, stand firm. What the hell are you? What are you? Aliens outside my house? Yes, I'm going to be terrified. I'm absolutely going to be terrified. But this is my home. This is my space. I don't believe in demons and all that jazz, right? That's for somebody else. whatever the hell you are, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a come to Jesus moment together. That's all I'm saying. Yes, I'd be terrified, but that's my space. I got my wife in there. What the hell am I going to do?
Yeah, and she's
And our
in there
dog.
too because she ain't coming out.
She ain't coming out.
No, I got Gertie to protect me.
But I mean, you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm not talking out of school here. It's just, I don't like the idea of something being in my home without my permission. That irritates the shit out of me. Maybe that's why I'm like, there are no ghosts in here.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Still don't believe it. But I totally believe in UFOs. Lots of evidence for that. All right. Who wants to have the last word on this one?
I think you got it.
Yeah, I think it's your turn.
Yeah.
All
actually.
right. When it comes to UFOs and aliens, whether it be in the Rocky Mountain region, whether it be anywhere else in the world, I think everybody in this room can actually say that there is something going on. The government is addressing it. And I'm not saying that they're going to get to the bottom of it. Remember, it is the government after all. But it could be them. It could be the military-industrial complex. Could be Project Bluebeam. Could be Solar Warden. And tons of different conspiracies. But no matter what label you want to put on it, no matter how much evidence you want to gather from it or for it, there is something happening. And whether you want to believe it or not is irrelevant. So you might as well at least try to open mind and understand what the hell's going on. Because I don't think it's violent. But that has yet to be seen, I guess. Do us a favor, smash that subscribe button. Give us a like. Share. If you like what we do here, leave us a comment. We like to read them. You've been listening to Jackalopes Explore.
Pick me up and shook me like a dog.